like to spread your dharma, be it Christianity, be it Islam, you want people to follow your religion more and more. But such a missionary zeal was never adopted for some Hindu dharma. And as you said, even if people are going out, they are propagating themselves as, believers of humankind, mankind, and they'll talk about the global peace and they'll not talk about the Hindu dharma itself. But somewhere at the core of the people who are very strong followers of Hindu dharma, they feel that it has been a big disadvantage for them, and this is why they are actually not able to spread the message and their religion. Though the values of that particular religion are followed such a big way.
That's right.
But so do you think this was bad to do or good to do?
No,
or the Hindu dharma
this,
should have also followed the missionary zeal?
No, this is great, because the irony is, one of the things that attracted Americans was they were not acting like missionaries. They were not acting.
But I just wanted that one.
Yeah.
No. So here I want to further go to another question, which leads me to another question. The people who are acting as missionaries, is it good or bad?
Let's get clear on who we mean, because people have called Vivekananda a missionary. I do not put him in the same category as the fundamentalists who are coming.
Well, people even see some of your lectures which are aimed at just highlighting what has happened as anti-Christian. It's just based on the comments on your lecture.
I hope not.
I have seen on one of your YouTube videos, one of a cynical guy goes and writes that probably he's too anti-Christian to promote the cynical.
Yeah, well, that's...
So maybe he is coming from somewhere.
They see that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not going into what people pursue. I'm talking about...
I'm anti-fanatic and I'm anti-fundamentalist from anybody.
Yeah.
I'm anti-coercion, I'm anti-lying, I'm anti-deceit, I'm anti-manipulation, and one of the things that I find most appalling here is, since I got here, is everybody's telling me about what's going on with the Christian missionaries. And one thing I think is very important to understand is that's a form of fanatic fundamentalist Christianity that's, as danger, it's a danger to the world like fundamentalist Islam or anything else. When I tell American Christians what the fundamentalist missionaries are doing here, they're appalled. The good Christians would never dream of doing something like that. They find it offensive.
Sorry, but I just want to stop you again. So what is this good Christian and bad Christian? There are also good Hindus and bad Hindus.
Let's not use good and bad. Yeah. Let's say fanatics and missionaries who use unscrupulous, coercive, disdainful practices of lying and manipulating people are very different from missionaries who come with good hearts and open a hospital or a school and are not manipulating people into converting. That is just really appalling to me.
I think it's good humans that we need more rather than good Christians or good Hindus.
Well,
one second, how would it?
Christians, fanatics who do things that I find unethical and immoral, give all religions a bad name.
So another question, different. This was good discussion. So I want to understand. There is now a trend where you want to follow yoga, you want to follow meditation, you want to follow a different lifestyle, and though good that we had ambassadors like Beatles and other people who actually became the ambassador for that whole trend. But I see there are so many other Westerners coming and adopting who are maybe not celebrities and they are not getting highlighted the way the others got highlighted.
Of course.
But there is a big contradiction happening that in India, we see the life is becoming more materialistic. We are moving away from what we were.
I know.
We are losing faith in our own values. We have much more malls coming up here than any other Western country.
More
shopping malls or the malls to say. See, Indore in the last 5 years has seen 5 big mega malls coming. With every mall having an outlet for McDonald's and Pizza Hut and Domino's and KFC.
The worst of America coming to India.
So you call it worst of America, and the way it is projected here in India is it's the best of America, and this is what we have been deprived of. this is what we should have adopted. And probably it all started with the globalized economy in 91, which actually is showing results right now. We are also talking now the FDI and retail, and we are probably moving to become a very different society where we work hard for 5 days and we are just, being like Westerners in the weekend. We want to party, so that's symbolic I'm talking.
I know.
Where do you think the society in India is going wrong, and what is the path for correction? Yes.
Okay. Making comments about where India is going wrong or right, because I'm not qualified. There are people, if there are people in the West who are qualified to speak to that, there are people who've lived here a while, they've been here a while. I've been here now 2 weeks. I haven't been here in the previous 6 years. I'm running from place to place. I don't want to presume to tell Indians, anything about their society. I can say this: there's things about modern American life that are unhealthy and toxic, and while they're very glittery and appealing and it looks like the good life, there's a downside to it. There's a downside to materialism. There's a downside to consumerism. There's a downside to working so hard you get stress diseases. And there's a downside to eating convenient food and drinking garbage, that toxic sort of chemicals. We've discovered that. Americans who are trying to live a more fulfilled, healthy, balanced life have rejected those kind of values, and many of us have turned to India and its ancient ways and its diet and its cultivation of the inner life as a balance to that. And it would be one of the horrible ironies of modern life if India was to adopt all this outer stuff of America and forget about their inner life. Because if they do, 20, 30 years from now, they'll be having heart disease at record rates and dying young and having broken marriages, just like Americans do, and having this high-stress life that made Americans turn to yoga.
So ultimately, we are still traveling the full cycle and we are reinventing the wheel rather than knowing it from what we had the legacy.
And maybe the Americans who are worth taking an example of are not the ones you see in the commercials and eating junk and making it look glamorous, or trying to get a bigger car and a bigger house and everything. But the Americans who are smart enough to know that there's that while you can enjoy the material comforts of the outer life, if you don't have a rich inner life, it's all for naught. And those of us who sense that turn largely to India and to the yogic teachings to cultivate that. And we have shown by scientific research on these practices in the West and by just experience and experimentation with the sort of spiritual treasures of India, that they can be integrated into modern life without sacrificing success, without sacrificing comfort, and that the two can be complementary. That's what. If these teachings weren't practical and appropriate to modern life, they would never have had an impact in America. There wouldn't be 20 million people taking yoga classes, 40 million people practicing meditation of one kind or another. Healthcare practitioners wouldn't recommend these practices if they didn't have practical value. And if India turns its back on it, thinking they're all just should be put in museums, they will be missing out on something that's far too valuable to give up.
Yeah, though it's very ironic. So what I meant to ask is that if America is turning to India, what will it take for India turning to themselves?
I don't know what the answer to that is, but that's up to the leaders and the teachers and the gurus and the swamis and all the people of India to make the teachings that have stood the test of time continue to be relevant to today's life.
problem in India that has become is like, if you start a yoga class in a school for a morning and you make it compulsory, people will feel that it is a religious push that is coming.
We have the same problem in America. It's hard to get things into the school systems like this. So it's happened outside of the school systems. This came up this morning at the school I spoke at. There are some school systems that are bringing in yoga teachers and all that, and at some locations it's acceptable, some it's not. In private institutions it's acceptable, in public it's not. But they have it after class, and they have, in universities they can have yoga clubs, so it doesn't have to be in the curriculum. Then it's accessible to people. But what about the grown-ups? What about the people, working 12-hour shifts in office buildings? They need these things too. And then we have corporations in America who bring in yoga classes and have meditation rooms, and just because they know they want a healthy workforce.